Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Marissa and I am the maker behind Missouri Makes. Today I am going to be showing you how to make homemade butter. One of my viewers was wanting written instructions and another viewer was wanting to know how long it took to make homemade butter. So I thought that I would just do a video and get it over with and do written instructions with it. So if you want the written instructions on how to make homemade butter, you can go over to my website and you can find the, would it be really called a recipe, or I don't know, instructions over on my website. So let's go over what we need. Now if you have the option of fresh cow's milk, that's best, or fresh cream, really, then that's best. But if you don't have the option or the source to get fresh cream, then you're gonna need heavy whipping cream. This I bought at Walmart, and if I'm not mistaken, it was just under $5 for this, and this is 1 quart. And so how much cream you have doesn't really matter. If all you have is a little bit, if you have a bunch, doesn't really matter, it'll make butter. I will, at the end of this video, I will tell you how long it took me to make butter from a quart of heavy whipping cream, and I will weigh it and tell you how much butter you get. Including with the butter, when you make it, you will also get buttermilk, and you can use buttermilk for a number of things. Some people like to drink it. I don't. It's gross. But I do use it for my biscuits and stuff like that. I know people who put it in cornbread. I'm sure you could put it in pancakes, stuff like that. Number of things. But when you make butter, you do get buttermilk as well. So you're going to need heavy whipping cream or fresh cream if you have the option. You're going to need a bowl of ice water, and this is optional. If you plan on using your butter right away, then you don't necessarily have to have a bowl of ice water. I just have water in it right now. I'll put ice in it right before I separate everything. If you plan on having your butter in the fridge for a while, then you will have to wash your butter, because your butter will have residue of buttermilk in it, and because it has that in it, it will go bad quicker. So if you wash your butter before you pack it and put it in the fridge, it will last longer. I'm gonna say my butter lasts 3 to 4 weeks, depending on circumstances and how good I washed my butter for that time. And then I'm gonna move you over. I have a KitchenAid, and I'm gonna be using the whisk attachment. You do not need a KitchenAid to make butter. The first time I ever made butter, I put it in a bowl with a lid that was sealed tight, and I shook it, and it forever wore my arms off and ended up making butter. You do not have to have a KitchenAid. One of the parts of making butter is you have to turn it into whipped cream and go past that. So, and I have used a hand mixer to make whipped cream. So I am almost positive that you can use a hand mixer to make butter if you really wanted to. But you'll have to be patient, because I'm sure it'll take a while, just like it takes a little while in the hand mixer, the KitchenAid. I have seen people use blenders. I don't use my blender. My blender is a cheap blender, and I did not like the process of it. I got it to the whipping cream part of it, and to me it just seemed like it was going in circles and wasn't doing nothing. So I ended up taking it out and putting it in my KitchenAid to finish the process. So I don't use my blender, but I know that there are people who do. I know it can be done. The only other thing that you will really need is a container to put your butter in. So, oh, and then if you want it salted, you can salt your butter as well. I personally don't salt my butter because I'm pregnant. I don't salt my butter. That way I don't add extra salt into my dishes. You may want to have unsalted butter for any medical reasons, whatever, high blood pressure, whatever it may be. Or you may not have a problem when you want salted butter. That's all fine and well. You have the option to control the amount of salt that goes in your butter, and that's another reason why I like making homemade butter. So let's go ahead and get started, and I will show you the process of this. Alright, so I have put my whisk attachment on, and I'm going to just take my heavy whipping cream, and I am going to put it in the bowl. You do not rinse it out or anything. You just pour what you... Oh, I made a mess. You pour what you can get in it. And I'll clean that mess up in just a second. You're going to lock your KitchenAid down or whatever it is that you're using. And I'm going to start on the second setting. So for me, what I do is I start slow on my speed on my KitchenAid, and I slowly work it up. As long as it is not splashing out of the bowl, then you can continue to up the speed, which will take it'll make it to where it takes less time to make your butter. The faster it goes, the quicker your butter makes. So what I'm gonna do is I have my timer. I stole my husband's phone to do this, and I'm gonna turn on the KitchenAid. And I'm going to push the start button, and we're going to see how long it takes to make butter. Okay, so I paused the timer for just a second because I wanted to come on here and talk to you about what we've got so far. Right now, if you look, we are starting to get whipped cream. The cream has pretty much doubled. It's not quite whipping cream yet, but we are getting there. It's thick, and this is one of the steps into this. You will continue to whip until it just all completely separates, but this is part of it. You'll see that it's starting to get thick and foamy. That you want that. This is part of the process. And so right now we have whipping cream. We're going to go ahead and lock it back into place, start it up, start the timer, and keep going. And I'll come back as we get through each step. So about 1 minute later-ish, we have this consistency. It's super thick and starting to look clumpy. We are in the process of over whipping our whipped cream. So this right here, now I'm sure you could still use this as whipping cream, and I probably would, but I think that this right here would be considered over whipped. So this is, again, another step in the process. We will continue, and the next step will be the butter separating from the buttermilk. So let's go ahead and keep going. 14 minutes and 34 seconds for making butter. And that's about on the medium setting on my KitchenAid. And so that is it on that. Now, so we're going to unlock it, lift it up, it will stick to your whisk, and we have butter. And you see down in there, that is buttermilk. So let's go on to the next. Okay, so at the beginning of the video, I forgot to mention to separate the butter and the buttermilk, I'm going to use my mesh strainer, and I usually put the buttermilk in a bowl that sits good in with my strainer, and then I transfer the buttermilk over to a mason jar and date it so I know how long it's been in my fridge. I don't honestly know when buttermilk goes bad. People have told me that it really doesn't go bad. I don't know. I don't keep it in my fridge for very long, so I don't. I look at it as regular milk, and if I have buttermilk in there that's been sitting for a little while, I usually dump it out because I honestly don't know how long buttermilk stays good for. I will have to research that. But that is what we'll need to do the next step. Let's go ahead and do it. Okay, so we are going to transfer the buttermilk. We have the butter in the whisk, and I'm just going to push that out. And yes, my hands are clean. Okay, so this can just be put in the sink. We're done with this. And then we're going to deal with the remaining in the bowl. And so we just pour that over the mesh strainer. Okay. I am going to wash my hands, and then we will start the next step. Alright, so the next step is you want to squeeze the remaining buttermilk out of your butter. You can use a spoon, you can use your hands, doesn't really matter. You just take and push on the butter and squeeze what little buttermilk is left. Okay, I'm going to set the butter aside, and then we'll deal with the buttermilk. Okay, so usually when I do butter like this, I use the small mason jar. I don't know what that is. Pint maybe? I don't know what it is. But it usually will fill one of these up. Yep. It fills it up, and I have a whole jar of buttermilk. Yeah. Okay, so I have a bowl of ice water here, and I have my butter. And the reason why we want ice water is we want the water to be as cold as possible because our butter is very pliable, like Play-Doh. And so we're going to drop that in there, let it soak for a little while, and we're just going to start squeezing the butter. Now, in a pinch, I have just run this under cold water. It does the job, but you have to do it quickly because it will start melting on you. You want to have as cold of water as you can get. And then, like I said at the beginning of the video, the reason why we do this is it makes our butter last longer in the fridge. The more buttermilk we get out of the butter, the longer our butter will last in the fridge. So when you think you've got all of the buttermilk, or as much as you can get out, you're going to put this aside, dump your water, and then if you want to salt your butter, you can. If you don't, then you just stick it in the fridge. But I am going to go ahead and salt the butter. So I'll show you how we do that. I have a piece of parchment down just to kind of protect the butter. My counter's clean, but just to be on the safe side, I always put parchment paper down. Can you get the salt for me, dear? It don't matter. You can do whichever salt, and small quantities at a time. Sprinkles. I've got... Okay, so I have salt on my hands. I don't want to do too much at a time because I don't want it to have a clump of salt in different areas of the butter. This butter is not for me, so I'm trying to make sure that it is usable. So I'm just kind of adding butter into it as I go. Or not butter, salt into it as I go. And I just kind of knead it in. You don't have to be precise with this exactly, but I don't usually salt my butter, so this step is kind of foreign to me, and so I just kind of be careful. I'm not going to add too much salt because I don't know how he likes his salt. If he's like my husband, it'd give you a heart attack. The amount of salt that you put in. But I'm just going to knead that in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it in parchment paper and put it in the fridge. And that's all you do. You've got your butter. So. Okay, so we got our plastic wrap here. And you know what? I'm going to have my husband wrap it because I got greasy hands and I don't want the outside to be greasy. It's all wadded up on me. It's on the underneath here. There you go. When you wrap the sides of it, it should come up. Yep. Well, if you don't wad it up there. And that's all you do. I'm going to date my buttermilk so I know when I made it. And I've got my butter here. And that's the process of making butter. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. And that way you don't miss another video.